Welcome to Legends Lessons, where we uncover the most fascinating and tragic tales from history. Today's story takes us back to a cold February afternoon in 1958, a day that forever changed football history. Stay tuned as we dive deep into the heart-wrenching story of the Munich air disaster. It was a cold afternoon in February 1958 when Manchester United's young football players stood at Munich Reum Airport. They had just defeated Red Star Belgrade in a European Cup match, and everyone's faces were shining with joy. Among the youngest players was Eddie Colman, 21, and David Pegg, 22. As soon as they saw snow, they couldn't resist. They started laughing, picking up snow, and throwing it at each other, carefree and full of life. But little did they know that just a few hours later, their lives would tragically come to an end. This team was famously called the Busby Babes. With an average age of just 22, the football world used to say that this group was the most talented group of players in British football. No, friendly talks were taking place in the airport terminal of Munich. Songs were being sung, and everyone was waiting to board their flight back to England. Eddie, known as Snake Hips for his fantastic footwork, even brought hot drinks for everyone. The rest of the team were busy getting gifts for their families and children. Everything seemed perfect. The plan was to board British European Airways Flight 609, a reliable airspeed S-57 Ambassador aircraft, nicknamed the Elizabethan for its luxury. This same plane had once carried Queen Elizabeth II. A total of 44 people were boarding, including Matt Busby's entire team and 9 journalists. But who knew that this would be their last journey? No one could have imagined it, not even in their worst nightmares. Inside the plane, there was a relaxed atmosphere. 2 card games were being played. Johnny Barry, Roger Byrne, and Liam Whelan on one side, while Jackie Blanchflower, Wood, and Jackie Blanchflower were playing at the other. David Pegg, Bill Fox, Kenny Morgan, and Albert Scanlon were looking at their cards, having a good time. At the front of the flight, Saturday 20-year-old Bobby Charlton, the UK's most promising goal scorer. And then, there was Harry Gregg, the goalkeeper, sitting spread out onto seats, exhausted after a tough match against Red Star Belgrade. Matt Busby, the legendary manager of Manchester United, Saturday nearby. Despite having recently undergone surgery, he was still looking after his boys. He was joined by his staff, the iconic Duncan Edwards, Mark Jones, Tommy Taylor, and others. As the plane's propellers roared to life and the aircraft sped down the icy runway, something felt wrong. The snow and slush were coming out of the wheels, but the plane wasn't lifting off the ground. Then, the engine surged. Everyone could feel it. The aircraft stopped abruptly, and co-pilot Kenneth Raymond immediately realized there was a problem. He detected a malfunction known as surging, which could lead to engine failure if not addressed. The brakes were applied, and the plane came to a halt. Everyone disembarked as confusion filled the air. People began asking questions. What happened? Is it safe? Was it the weather or the plane's engines? Some were concerned, especially since just a year ago, another British European Airways flight had crashed near Manchester, killing 22 people. But they weren't too worried, because technical faults were often resolved quickly. They'd seen this before. After a while, a calm was restored. A few hours passed, and it seemed like everything was fine again. But then, without warning, the boarding announcement came, saying the plane was ready to take off once again. Passengers were hesitant but decided to board. As soon as they settled back into their seats, something strange happened. The plane's nose didn't lift off the runway. It stopped once again. This time, panic set in. Even the usually calm Frank Swift, the former England goalkeeper turned journalist, shouted, "What is going on?" To failed takeoffs, the mood inside the terminal turned dark, as players and journalists exchanged worried glances. But, strangely, the decision was made to try a third time. At this point, there was a strange acceptance. Everyone just wanted to get home. The decision was made. We'll try again, they thought. After all, the weather was terrible, and they had to return home to prepare for their next match. The runway was icy, but the flight crew decided to go ahead. Despite the hesitation, no one voiced concerns. As the aircraft took off for the third time, everyone felt that something was wrong. the speed of the plane began to drop, and the runway was quickly coming to an end. Pilot James Thane and co-pilot Raymond knew that if the plane didn't lift off soon, they would crash. The plane had reached 170 knots, the speed required for takeoff, but it couldn't gain altitude. Then, the speed started to fall to 112 knots, then 105 knots. There wasn't enough speed to stay in the air, and the aircraft was about to go off the runway. The pilots realized it was too late to pull back. In a desperate attempt, James Thane pulled the undercarriage up, trying to slow the aircraft, but despite all efforts, the plane skidded off the runway, out of control. The next few moments were pure chaos. There were loud crashes, a deafening whistling sound as the plane skidded, and then complete silence. The Munich air disaster was now a reality. 20 people out of 44 were killed instantly. Among them were 8 Manchester United players, including the likes of Roger Byrne, Duncan Edwards, and Eddie Colman. The world was in shock. As for the cause of the crash, initial investigations blamed pilot error. However, it was soon discovered that the true reason for the crash was the icy runway, which had caused the plane to lose speed and fail to take off. Despite this, German authorities initially blamed the pilot for failing to clear ice from the wings, but after further investigation, it became clear that the snow seen in photographs was merely a reflection of the sun. The real issue was the condition of the runway. In the end, this crash was a preventable tragedy, one that could have been avoided with proper safety measures. The events that unfolded on that snowy day in Munich are now forever etched in the history books as a tragic loss for football and humanity. Bro, thank you for watching Legends Lessons. If you found this story moving, please like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more stories from history. And don't forget to turn on the notification bell. In our next episode, we'll uncover the eerie tale of Flight 401, a plane that crashed, and its parts were used in other planes, where passengers later reported seeing ghosts. Intrigued? Watch the next video to learn more. Until then, stay curious and keep learning from the legends of the past. See you next time.